From our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Well, in breaking news, we go straight to State Parliament, where the Liberal government has lost a critical vote in the lower house. Political reporter Josh Duggan is there. Josh, can you tell us what has just happened and what it means?
Kim, the government has lost control of the House tonight. Today, the Premier was due to table all documents and advice that he has regarding the Macquarie Point Stadium. However, he never did so. Labor and independents who'd pushed for that were quite upset and then adjourned debate on the budget bill until he could provide the documents or a reason why he hadn't tabled them. That motion then passed with the support of Lara Alexander, meaning a 12-10 win for that motion. And it's the first time in a very long time, according to Kevin Bonham, that the government has lost a vote on adjournment. The Premier then just now has returned to the chamber and said that those are in fact all the documents he has on the Macquarie Point Stadium. However, that reasoning is unlikely to satisfy many of those who voted for him to give all the advice over. And it's certainly another sign that chaos continues to plague this new minority government. Kim?
Okay, thank you, Josh. Certainly one to watch how it plays out tonight. Thanks for your time. Well, turning to other local news, some residents living in communities along the Hewan River have breathed a sigh of relief, being spared major damage from yesterday's heavy rain. The peak caused minor flooding in some low-lying areas around Hewanville. Thankfully, predictions of an event similar to 2016 didn't come to fruition.
A torrent of water gushing down the Hewan River at a rapid rate, raising alarms for emergency services. In the dead of the night, Hewanville was awake and alert. SES and police preparing properties near the banks, with the region on flood watch.
We're watching quite a significant amount of water in the upper end of the catchments, and there was the uncertainty about how fast that water would move down the river system.
Everybody was prepared to chip in and do things if they needed to happen.
The Bureau predicting a similar event to the 2016 floods, which caused widespread damage. Thankfully, this was avoided. The Tahoon Bridge peaked at 6.9 metres. Judbury recorded a 5.6 metre peak, whilst Hewanville reached 3.46 metres.
It was after the low tide had occurred, so we dodged a bit of a bullet there.
Waters are now subsiding. There was no requirement for any evacuations overnight, which is great news.
The SES responding to 17 calls statewide. Areas near the river full of debris this morning, with grass banks and structures going under. The Hewan Jet was back in action, although the nearby cafe came within inches of taking on water.
We had about 50 mil in the workshop, which is lower. It was probably half a metre from coming actually inside the building.
Low-lying paddocks near Judbury looked more like inland lakes. The local golf club's fence was twisted in some parts, with bark strewn on the course. Volunteers, however, were playing on.
You could still play on it today if you wanted to. We'll probably have a work and bee on Sunday morning or something, and people will come along and clean up.
As water levels continue to drop, there's good news for communities along the river, with the Weather Bureau predicting improved conditions heading into the weekend. But the danger isn't over.
There is debris around. There are still some road closures and some water inundation, and just ask people to look out for that.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Health staff inadvertently paid $1,000 as part of a COVID frontline health bonus will not need to pay the funds back. The Premier responding to health staff and relenting just hours after defending the debt chase.
A mea culpa from the man in charge. The Premier allowing Ambulance Tasmania staff to keep a $1,000 bonus they'd been paid last year by mistake, thanking health workers and saying, "We'll continue to back you."
There's been a mistake made by our department. We'll wear that mistake.
The money was the first instalment of a $2,000 COVID frontline payment. Last night, 554 staff, including 000 dispatchers, were sent a letter asking for the funds back, told it was only for those in clinical settings.
The Minister doesn't seem to understand who's taking the 000 calls, who's dispatching the paramedics.
They rallied this morning calling it insulting, saying those staff are as deserving as any others.
It is absolutely cruel. The reality is these workers have worked through COVID, saving lives.
Even flagging the possibility of industrial action. Meanwhile, in Parliament, the Premier justified the decision to claw back the funds.
I understand how frustrating and
do nothing about
it. To a certain extent, angry people must feel. It's a system error.
Before relenting just hours later.
It was completely unreasonable to ask those health workers to pay that money back, and that the letter should never have been sent in the first place.
Why didn't the Premier do that in the House when we asked him that question this morning?
Look, I think the most important thing is that the Premier's made it very clear that we're not going to be asking people to pay their money back.
The Health and Community Services Union has welcomed the move, but says they believe those workers are entitled to all $2,000. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians are being urged to plan and protect against COVID as the Health Department raises the risk level from low to moderate on the first day of winter. The Director of Public Health says a recent spike in case numbers has prompted the move. We're also being urged to get a COVID booster if eligible and consider wearing a face mask in public spaces and when visiting people at risk of severe illness. Hobart property prices may be on their way up, with a slight increase reported for the first time in more than a year. The new PropTrack data has captured how our capital city is tracking, with a surprise rebound hitting the market.
Wrapped up in looming interest rate rises and tight supply, the property landscape has found a way to bounce back.
We're seeing renewed growth due to the livability of Hobart. It's a great city to live in, and there's strong interest both from owner-occupiers and investors.
In Hobart, a small monthly spike of 0.07% in prices was noted. Still, it's the lowest increase of the nation's capital cities.
This comes down to the fact that in the city, the supply-demand elements are a little more balanced. We're not seeing the same stock shortage across Hobart as in other capitals.
The jump comes after 13 consecutive months of price falls.
We did experience large amounts of growth over the period post-COVID.
Our median value sits at $663,000. That's according to PropTrack's latest home price index.
It's possible that there is a bit more anxiety in the market, which is creating more competition for property purchases.
As construction challenges continue to bear down on the industry.
The number of new listings has fallen about 20% across Australia, but also we have lots of population growth and we have very few homes being built.
Regional Tasmania is also experiencing a boom, maintaining the strongest performing market nationally since the beginning of the pandemic. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Renters are still finding the market tough though, with claims of little support from the public housing system. Krista has been on the priority housing waitlist for 42 months while suffering from MS.
There's no other options for us. Our option was thinking that we had a system that would help us in our time of need, and that isn't even an option.
Families are being made to feel like there's something wrong with them, when in actual fact it's the government who should be feeling guilty.
Asked about Krista's situation in Parliament, the Premier said he will do all he can to support each and every individual. The City of Launceston has voted in favour of several changes at its meeting today. The council will move ahead with its plan to lower speed limits on some Launceston roads following a unanimous decision. An application will now be lodged to the state's Transport Commissioner, which includes dropping the speed down to 40 kilometres an hour in the CBD. Meanwhile, Beam e-scooters are here to stay following a 12-month trial. The council granting a permit to the company with some boundary and parking changes recommended. Lauderdale coach Alan Christensen has spoken out about the tragic loss of club legend Dion Mead in what has been an incredibly difficult time for the entire football family. Tributes have poured in for the Hobart father following his death, with players and umpires to wear black armbands this weekend in honour of the club legend.
Yeah, he was just so selfless and caring, and just, anything he was involved in he loved. So, it's an impossible hole to fill. So, it's gonna be pretty tough.
A minute's silence will also be held before each TSL game. Bridport's ambulance station is marking a special milestone, celebrating a year in operation. From injured mountain bikers to the seriously ill, the permanent base has already helped hundreds.
Some of Bridport's best ready to race into action.
Most importantly, it's an amazing community, so it's great to be here to support them.
It's now been a year since the ambulance branch set up shop in Bridport, already responding to close to 500 call-outs, from being first on the scene of a traumatic event to lending a helping hand. The service has been there through it all.
We get a wide range, so we've got all the medical cases that we go to, but you know, this is such a high recreation area, so we head out to the sand dunes, onto the beaches.
Until last year, patients were often left waiting for hours, with a popular holiday spot relying on services from Scottsdale and beyond. Now the community has access right at its fingertips, with the station manned 24/7.
By having a paramedic team on town, we have been able to attend so many cases within a very short period of time.
It gives a reassurance, I think, to the locals that there is someone here when required.
Early success has been credited to the group of tireless volunteer ambulance officers working alongside a paramedic to help some of their closest neighbours.
These rural communities rely so heavily on the volunteers, and we couldn't have done it without them.
As the birthday celebrations continue, the station has its eyes set on the future, putting the call out for more volunteers to jump on board. Victoria Eastoe, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanian parents are urged to be on high alert for burn injuries as the cooler weather forces us to heat up. Kids Safe has joined forces with specialist nurses and the state's fire service to help prevent accidents this winter, while ensuring the correct first aid is administered.
That cool for 20 within that first 3 hours does significantly reduce the risk, and we want to prevent those lifelong injuries that impact so deeply on families in Tasmania.
Things around sort of wood heaters, touching the glass or of the front of the wood heater, or even fire pits as well, obviously increased around that winter months where it's starting to get really cold.
Locals are also being reminded to check their hot water bottles, with a month-long campaign to raise awareness officially kicking off today. A number of high-profile Australians have signed an open letter calling on the Premier to end native logging in Tasmania. It comes after the Victorian government recently announced it will cease operations by the end of December, 6 years ahead of schedule. Ian Thorpe, Claudia Carvan and Tim Winton among some of the famous faces adding their names to the cause. The campaign calling on Jeremy Rockcliffe to protect Tasmania's native forests. In question time, the Premier said he would continue to support forestry workers and their families.
In the TSL, Kingborough is looking to bounce back following a rare defeat. The Tigers' unbeaten start to the season was ended by North Launceston last week, facing winless Glenorchy on Saturday. The coach says resetting their defence will be a key focus, especially in the uncontested marks department.
We allowed them too many uncontested marks, so that's something that we've worked on a lot this week, because it's an area that Glenorchy is strong in.
Meanwhile, North Hobart are looking to build on their thrilling win over Launceston when they travel to Lauderdale.
We just need to keep turning up and staying in games for long enough, and give ourselves the opportunity to really get into that top four.
First bounce is at 2 p.m. on Saturday.
Good evening. Hobart and Burnie 13 today, Launceston and Devonport 14 as temperatures drop below average. The top was 14, also shared with Flinders Island, St Helens and Friendly Beaches. Strawn 12, Grove 11, Lyawini a range of -3 to a high of 4. Plenty of rain tours at Front Past in the 24 hours to 9 a.m. Zeehan copped 87 millimetres, and today to 4 p.m 13 millimetres at King William Creek, the highest reading. That front seen there off to the east of Tasmania, a cold air mass over our region, along with a low cloud band to the west and south of the state, some high cloud over the Bight. A high pushes to be just north of Tasmania tomorrow as a low moves over the Bight, a cold front well to the south of that. Westerly winds at 10 to 20 knots, but to 25 knots over the south with a 4-metre swell. We still have a strong wind warning. That's for waters from Wineglass Bay to Low Rocky Point, not quite as bad as last night. Minor flood warning still exists for the North Esk River, a frost warning for the Midlands and most of northern Tasmania. Forecast for tomorrow, 15 for Hobart and partly cloudy, 14 the top for Hewanville, 15 for Campania. Launceston, a high of 14, becoming cloudy, bit of cloud everywhere actually, apart from Strawn. Devonport 14 and Georgetown 13. In the northwest, Burnie partly cloudy and 13. A couple of showers for Strawn, 13 the top and 14 for Wynyard. And in the east, fine, mostly sunny for St Helens and Swansea, partly cloudy but still fine for Port Arthur. On Saturday, fine and partly cloudy as showers ease from the west. A cold start to Sunday with a fine day to follow. And on Monday, all fine again apart from a possible late shower over the northeast. Mostly sunny in Perth, a possible shower in Adelaide. Cool and cloudy for Melbourne, a morning shower forecast for Sydney. 25 in Brisbane, fine and partly cloudy there. And here are the current conditions around the island with temperatures dropping into single figures. What a wild night last night, Kim. Hobart at 1:23 this morning, a 100-kilometre gust of wind, outdone by Flinders Island a few hours later. 4:51 a.m, 102 kilometres an hour over the island. Great start to winter.
And same at my house too, I think. Thank you, Murph.